I've debated to tell this story or not. I will tell it now that I'm like
Yeah, let's
teasing it.
go.
But one of the girls I was working with, she's like, "Yeah, this guy says he works with Chance the Rapper." I'm like, "What?" And I like just straight up like left my position and I walked up to the guy. I'm like, "Yo, you work with Chance?" I have incredible photos that I've taken on my iPhone. I have incredible photos that I've taken on my parents' camera, and I have incredible photos that I've taken on my Sony that don't have any fancy lenses or anything of that sort. I've had this debate before with people, but I think Good AM is probably my favorite Mac project. Truly, like, people say it all the time, but like truly the worst thing that can happen is it's just like a no, and then you just, all right, let me pivot and try a different angle, you know?
Welcome to the Sound Centric podcast. I am your host, Adam Dash, and today we are joined by someone who is going to be put in the Hall of Fame of content photographers, because this man has shown me that it's not just taking pictures, which like some of us surface level people might think, because it actually looks like, I can't even explain it. I'll post some pictures up there. The craziest things ever. He's the coolest picture of Kendrick Lamar ever. He's worked with all of your favorite rising Chicago rappers, KO, D2X, Asar, Z Money. He's worked with Chance the Rapper. Danny Pleckham, welcome to the show.
Man, thank you for having me, man. Let's give a round of applause also for Adam. Come on, check it out.
Yeah.
This is incredible, bro.
Photography is like one of those mediums where like it does, from our non-photography point of view of me, that like you're like how much to it could there be? Then you look at your photography and it actually is the craziest things where it literally looks like you talked to the artist before and you're like, all right, we have this plan, we're gonna pose it, and I know that it's not like that, but it's insane, man.
Yeah, no, it is pretty raw, just like how everything turns out. I haven't really ever planned anything with anybody. It just is kind of capturing the moments, so it's a lot of fun, man.
And we're now at the end of the year, and I'm not sure if you're an Apple Music or Spotify user. I know people are kind of complaining this year about the Spotify Wrap not being as cool. But what's the end of the year looking like for you? Who is finishing on top? Albums, songs, artists?
So I use Spotify for sure. But I would definitely say, like, from what I saw at least, it did seem like Apple Music had a lot more stats and stuff like that, which I don't know. It would have been cool to see a little more. But I have like that Stats FM thing for Spotify, so I feel like I still get a lot of like the details and like what I listen to and whatnot. But I felt pretty cool about like how my music was this year. In terms of artists, like on top for me, I had Mac Miller for sure at number one. I've had him for like the last like 5 years in a row, bro. That man, I definitely discovered him like later on, just because I am a bit younger than like when he started coming up. But yeah, bro, changed my life for sure. And like since I kind of discovered him, he's always just been that number one spot. And then you got, Future, Kendrick, Kanye, Saba, the GOATs, all
classics,
up in there, as well as like people behind him. But yeah, super cool. I was really satisfied with just like how that looks at the end of the year, and the music that came out this year was just incredible. So,
any new people that kind of jumped up your list that maybe you were surprised about how much you listened to them, or were like, I had this on repeat the whole time?
Man, one of my homies that actually makes music, his name is Yagi. He goes by Yagi. He's a good buddy of mine, and like he put out a project early this year, and I knew I liked it, but he ended up being like top 10 artist for me. He ended up having like all 5 of my top songs for the year, like in this project. I was like, yo, I didn't know I liked it that much, but yeah, definitely my homie Yagi, super cool guy. Definitely check him out if you haven't. I'm like also looking at this as we're talking, but
I will say I was doing my research before this convo, and I did play that album last night because I saw that that was what you were listening to. So I'm like, what is this? Because the album cover looks sick, and it was chill. It was good vibes.
Yeah, it's great vibes. It's nice like campfire music. It's great.
Yeah.
So,
for me, there were certain albums that I was expecting. Like I wanted Doechii to be my number one. Like I thought I got it to number one, and it wasn't even top 5. I'm like, shit, what happened?
Yeah.
But
I wanted to. Sorry, not to interrupt you. I wanted to listen to that album like right when it came out, and I didn't. I was just, a lot was going on at the time, so I just didn't get a chance to. And then as like Flog Gnaw was coming up, I'm like, I'm gonna wait till I see this live. and then I'm gonna listen to it after I see this live. So for that album in particular, yeah, I was like, I like doing that sometimes where I'm like, I want to see this live before I listen to it, just to get that full like impact of it. But
When you
Doshi's
go
album
to
was crazy.
when you go to a concert, are you a person who looks at the track list beforehand, like on one of those websites, or are you let me just see what happens kind of guy?
Typically, I just kind of let it rock and just see what happens. I've done that before, but I feel like that kind of spoils it too. I don't know. Yes
Yeah.
and no. I feel like it's situational. If it's one where I'm like, I want to get this specific shot and I have like a specific idea in mind, I'll see like if it's kind of something that they've played before in other set lists. But if not, like, I'll usually just kind of just wing it and see what happens. For sure.
And then this album will be out by the time that this podcast is out. But I know, I mean, he's not a Chicago guy, but he's kind of a Chicago guy. But Smino is dropping to What Is Tonight. How are you feeling for that album?
Bro, incredible. I love all the surprise drops this year. Just been like,
It's
I
been
feel like that's
crazy.
just been like, I don't know why, but it's just been a little trend, but I love it. So just for that to get announced like top of the week, I'm like, oh, I'm here. I'm ready. Like, Love for Rent for me was a huge part of my life when that came out. So just seeing all the visuals and just seeing everything that he's already put out prior to the music even being released, I'm like, oh, this is crazy. So I'm super here for that.
Yeah, there's been so many surprise releases. I mean, I see people joke about this on Twitter, but like Jid tweeted at the top of the year, "I'm dropping music all year." I think he dropped
I
like
think,
one song.
bro, I think Smino did something similar where he had
He
said
did.
something about projects and stuff, like 3 projects or something like that. Yeah, it happens. Some things happen behind closed doors that we can't control. So
Yeah, I
I'm
saw
just happy
he.
that we're getting at least this Smino one for sure.
Thank God. I saw he tweeted that this was made before Love for Rent. And he tweeted also like a couple months ago. He's like, I had an album, but then like life happens, and then you're like a different person from like when you made
Yeah.
that album. So that always interests me when artists make albums. Like J. Cole's been making The Fall Off for 5+ years, and it's like, hasn't your life changed so much that like that song would just be like, eh? But
Yeah,
that's
100%. And like I don't even make music myself, but like just from my friends and like people that I know that do, like there's people that will sit on projects and then like they'll finish it entirely like a year and a half later and be like, yeah, I don't think this reflects me like at all. Like or I just don't
yeah.
love this concept anymore. Like it's just strung out for them. So, yeah, a lot of things can change behind the scenes. So, it just adds more to it when it actually finally gets put out for the world to hear.
And Smino's that dude. There's no one that sounds like him. Like I'm a
Oh
Noir
yeah,
is one of my favorite albums ever.
yeah, absolutely. Black Swan as well, crazy. Um, yeah, he's got classics, 100%.
And you talked about Mac Miller being 5 years in a row. I think you were like the 0.05% or whatever of the top
Something like
listeners.
that. I put a tweet out for it. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah. And
Crazy.
I swear, depending the day, my Mac Miller favorite album, changes all the time.
Mm.
But I'm curious right now, being December 5th, what's the top four for you?
Top four. Okay, I could do top four. I think I was looking like at how things charted like this year for me, and like Faces was number 2 for me in projects this year. So I mean, Faces is for sure up there. I think I've had this debate before with people, but I think Good AM is probably my favorite Mac project.
Yeah.
Just because it has so much of everything. Like there is a lot of like stuff that's gonna get you amped, but there's also just a lot of those
Yeah.
other like emotions in there as well, where you get a little bit of everything. So I think that project for me as well is one of the best for him. Can't not mention Swimming as well for me. And then I also think Circles is incredible as well. I mean, when that came out, at least for me, that was like such a huge part of my life as well. So yeah, I'd say Circles, Faces, Swimming, Good AM for sure for top 4 for
What's
him.
what's the order?
Mm.
That's the
Yeah,
hard part.
yeah, that is the hard part. Um, I'd say Good AM. I would say Swimming, and then I would say Faces, and Circles would be the order.
So we had the same top four, and my top three is the one that's like a revolving door, because Faces, like the ad libs on that, like a song like Friends, which I feel like is a weird
Bro,
song, is like one of my favorite songs ever, and like the ad
absolutely.
libs on that, love that track. And then like Swimming's like it came in the perfect time in my life where like I needed that. I was like a senior in high school,
Yep.
and I think Good AM is his best rapping, the
Yeah.
top tier, and then
Yes.
Circles is such my freshman year of college that I can't listen to it without getting very sad because I'm in my dorm room when I hear
Bro,
that song.
that's wild. Yeah, we had that same timeline then, because that's exactly like the timeline for me was like, swimming was my senior year of high school, and I was like going through some stuff. We'll just say that.
Yeah,
And then like circles for sure was. I mean, that was during COVID and stuff, so everybody was just naturally like lonely
yeah,
and like not with people and stuff like that. So I attribute that album very much to that time, and Faces they actually put out on streaming while I was living out in Phoenix, because I lived out in Phoenix for a couple of years. So like I heavily attribute that album to like the time I was living there.
yeah.
Um, and Good AM is just good. Like that shit is just crazy. So
Just bangers.
yeah,
it's it's so cool, and then sometimes it's bad that music can take you to such a place. Like there's
yeah,
certain I used to run cross country as a freshman in high school, and there's certain songs I listen to, and I'm like, I'm on the bus to a race right now. Like I hate this, and it
yep,
sucks. I love the song, but I'm like, it's taking me too much to a place that I can't even listen to this.
yeah. It happens, man. That's what music does to you. It transports you to those times and everything. So
And Max got a similar discography. I feel like it's like to Kanye, where it's like every single person you talk to has a different top three,
oh yeah,
and you
hundred
could say
percent.
three albums that are completely different.
Yeah, 100%. Any of those are interchangeable. Like, really, any in those four that I listed could also be his number one. Even the albums that I didn't list, watching movies as well, Macadelic, you know, Divine Feminine, all those, they could easily be up in that same list. So,
So I'm always curious about like the business perspective of things. I talk to artists a lot about it, managers, and this is uncharted territory for me for talking about a different type of like line of work that I've never really
yeah,
had anyone known to do it. And I'm so curious. I mean, I know your first concert ever was Juice World, shooting pics,
was.
and how did you get your start? Just even shooting photography, and how did that lead to kind of where you're at right now?
Yeah. So going all the way back to when I completely started, I started doing photography in general around the same time that I started doing design. So I actually
Hmm.
was a graphic designer before I was a photographer.
That helps.
Um, and my friend Carter Shimp and I, we grew up together. I mean, he grew up right across the street from my house, and like we're both doing our thing. We're still great friends. I manage him on the music side of things, and but like he came to me and was like, I mean, we were like 12, and he's like, "Hey, like I found a way to get Photoshop for free," and I'm like, "What the hell is Photoshop?" And he was like, "Here, like we figured it out." And like at that time, it was like 2013, and like sports edits were like a huge thing, like just
Yeah.
for whatever reason, and like socials weren't like a big deal at all at that time, because people were still getting used to like what is the internet sort of thing, and like what is
Hmm.
social media. So we would just make stuff, random sports edits, and post them on Instagram, and like we were some of the only people doing that at the time, so we just naturally started to get kind of a lot of people looking at it. um,
I
but we
saw
had
that
no
Derek
idea
Rose
how to
one.
like. Yeah, I mean, there's tons, bro. I have such an archive of just random designs and stuff that are either awesome or just absolutely terrible, because
Yeah.
depending on the day, I was either on one or not. But like at that time, I just didn't know like how to like structure it, like or anything of like how to build a business. Or like I was just doing it for fun, so
Hmm.
we would just put stuff out. And on the design side, one of the days, I will literally never forget, I was in eighth grade, and I was like in line to like leave school to have my parents pick me up, and I was looking at my phone, and I saw that I had a notification on Instagram that the Suns followed me, and I'm like,
Wow.
who are the Suns? Like I remember turning to my
Yeah,
friend and being
yeah.
like, who are the Suns? And he's like, isn't it like a basketball team? I'm like, I don't know. And so I like look it up, and it is. I'm like, why did they just follow me? And like they commented on this. And my friend was like, no, that's fake. That's fake. And like we looked, and like their account had like 200 something thousand followers at the time, which was a lot for that time. And I'm like, I don't think a fake account would have this many followers.
Yeah.
So it was crazy, and I ended up like using some of my like sports edits and stuff like for game programs and stuff. So they would always hand stuff out to fans and stuff as they entered the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
So they would do this fan art thing. So they used my work like 3 or 4 different times, which was super fire. And again, I was like 13, I think, at that time.
That's crazy.
But I just like didn't recognize at all how crazy that was at the time. I just knew that like, oh, there's something here with this. Like, I want to continue to do this because obviously it's working somehow. So luckily I at least recognized that and stuck with it. But that was like one of the first like big moments for me where I'm like, okay, like this is really what I want to do. And in that same like timeline, I started just taking random photos with Carter. I had like an iPhone 6 that we would just run around and take stuff on and then edit later. And eventually it turned into me like stealing my parents' Canon T2i camera, and like it had a flash so we could go out at any time of the day, whether it was night or day. And just where I live, like there's a big forest that kind of backs up to my neighborhood. So like we would just always kind of be out in nature, just taking random photos of ourselves and like friends and just like landscape stuff. Like it was nothing to do with music at the time. But I kind of bounced between doing stuff like that and then doing like more like senior pictures and like other stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then the design stuff, I just kind of bounced between that throughout my years of high school. Saved up my money in high school. And then, like throughout high school, you start to hear about this guy called Bennett and like start to see like what Lyrical Lemonade is. And like you start to see like they're doing festivals, and you start to see Rolling Loud and it's like, you know, it's peak years and like all these different things. And I'm like, from a distance, I'm like, oh, that would be really cool to do one day. But never would I have really thought that that would be something that I would do one day. But yeah, super crazy. And like, I went to grade school in Plano. I grew up in Yorkville, which is right outside of Plano where Cole's from. So it was just naturally like I heard about it all the time. I used to like practice track on like Plano's like track and field, which is just crazy because then he dropped like the Nowadays video with Little Skies, and you see them out on that same field, and I'm like, what is going on? And you see like Juice and Famous Dex and all these different people just like 10 minutes from my crib, and I'm like, what? Like this is crazy. So yeah, super full circle that like everything has just kind of come back around. And but yeah, to continue my story, I graduated high school and I have all this money like that I saved up to get my own camera, and I got this like Sony A7 III, no fancy lenses, just kit lenses, whatever. And it really was just like to get a new camera. It also wasn't on some like, I'm gonna shoot concerts now. It was just I want another camera. And
when it comes to like lenses and stuff, because I know I've had debates with artists about this where they're like, I need a new microphone, like that's what's gonna get me to the next level. Like what's your take on that in the camera world?
100% no, dude. I have incredible photos that I've taken on my iPhone. I have incredible photos that I've taken on my parents' camera, and I have incredible photos that I've taken on my Sony that don't have any fancy lenses or anything of that sort. Actually, I didn't even get the lens that I have today until like 2 months ago. Like, I literally have always shot kit lens stuff. Like, everything I've ever shot has always just been on whatever came with that camera. Which makes it way more difficult 100%, but it's still possible. Like, there's no reason that you need to spend like $2-3 grand or whatever the amount of money it may be to like have that gear that you need. Like, you can make it work. And I think even more so today, like now, if the quality is not insane, like that almost works towards your favor. Like, people are just getting these like aesthetics and like the nostalgia of like using older stuff or using stuff that isn't maybe 100% quality. Like, it just looks cool. So that's kind of more of a thing that works right now. So it's almost like people should be kind of more gravitating towards not the cheaper stuff, but to the imperfections, 100%. But yeah, 100%. I don't think people need any crazy kind of gear. But yeah, to kind of continue like how I got into the actual like music side of things. Um, I've debated to tell this story or not. I will tell it now that I'm like
Yeah, let's
teasing it.
go.
But yeah, my entire career in like what I do on the music side started from a 50-50 chance. And so pretty insane. I had graduated high school, and as a senior in high school does, they're going to grad parties and like enjoying life.
Yeah.
We'll just say that, and then getting into freshman year of college, and like, you know, I was meeting new people, we'll say, and I had met someone on an app that was working as a photographer at a venue in downtown Chicago, and I really just wanted to know like, hey, how can I also shoot concerts and stuff? Like, this would be cool. But ended up connecting with her, and like we talked for a while, like just about, you know, stuff that was coming up that we wanted to get into, and she was just giving me all this insight. And she was like, yeah, I want to get into this like show that's coming up in October. And I'm like, okay, well, like, let's do it. Like, I don't know how we need to do this, but I want to do it. And it ended up being that it was for JUICE WRLD, and it was like he was doing this like free show with McDonald's, and so it was like first 2,500 people to get a ticket, and then if you didn't get one, like you didn't get one, but it was free. So super cool way to like kind of give back to the community. And we ended up like digging around and finding like the right person to contact by chance, and that person was like, yeah, by all means, like, please come through and shoot. So
Fire.
wild story. Just the circumstances of that little butterfly effect decision and how everything has changed. It's crazy. So it definitely makes you reflect and like think about where you could be otherwise, for sure. But yeah, it was his last show he ever did in Chicago. My
Really?
first show.
Damn.
Yep. He did, I think, like three or four other shows after that Chicago one, and they were like all in Australia, I believe. So just really wild, and like within not even like 2 months later of that show, obviously he had passed. But just very honored to have had that opportunity, obviously, to, you know, be able to capture his energy, because I still think to this day he's one of the best performers I've ever seen live. Like, he just comes in giving it his 110%. So yeah, it was wild to witness, for sure. And then kind of from there, you know, I knew of some people that were like DJs in the city, or you know, just adjacent to sort of that music space, but not really up there yet. So I was kind of just like climbing the ladder at that point, and would be like, hey, I just did this show for Juice last week. Like, you have this one coming up. Can I come shoot this? So they're like, of course, come do this. So I shot that, and then it's like, hey, I've done both of these shows. I saw you have this event. I'm going to, like, you want me to come do this one? They're like, sure. So that's how I got into, like, I did the Lyrical Christmas Bash that year, like, a couple months later. And that was, like, Jack Harlow before What's Poppin'.
Yeah.
And Kid Leroy before anything for him blew up. Lil Tecca, Lil Skies, Young Bands. I think there was, like, a couple other people I'm forgetting, but super wild lineup at the time. And then I had met someone in my hometown, too. Shout out Yak. I was working at Starbucks at the time. I was working at Starbucks, and he had come in, and one of the girls I was working with, she's like, yeah, this guy says he works with Chance the Rapper. And I'm like, what? And I like just straight up like left my position, and I walked up to the guy. I'm like, yo, you work with Chance? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, what are you doing in Yorkville? And he's like, I live here. I'm like, what? And I like was like, yo, I just did this show last week. I did Juice like a couple months ago. Like, we need to talk. And he like looked at my stuff, and it was wild. And yeah, he got me into this like Oreo Fest show in February of like that year, of 2020 at this point.
At this point, do you have like a style, you would say, to like where you're at now? Like, do you think you were developing that?
With what I do now, 100%. But at that time, no, I was completely winging it, bro. 100% winging it. I did not understand at that time like how to maneuver these rooms and like these relationships yet. So I was very much just like, okay, this worked. Let me climb up higher. Let me like see how high I can keep going and just see where I land, basically. So just really putting myself out there at that stage of my life, and got to shoot that show for Oreo Fest, and Chance pulled up, G Herbo pulled up, like Z Money was even there, which is crazy. Like now years later, I'm working with him and Andrew, and it's just wild. And then obviously
Shout out
COVID
Andrew
hits.
Barber.
Yes, shout out Andrew Barber, the GOAT.
Go.
But yeah, and then obviously COVID hits, so things kind of take a tumble. And there were like 2 shows that year, like literally, like there were like 2 or 3 shows that whole year. And I did one for, it was like supposed to be like this drive-in event for DaBaby, and at that time DaBaby was like really popping, and so I'm like, all right, well I'll try and get into this. I'll see like what happens. And so I end up getting into that. I forget how, but like it worked out basically is the short way to put it. And I did that show, and I'm forgetting what else, but I did like one other one that year. And at the DaBaby show, I had met DJ Drama, which was really fire.
That's sick.
I got connected with him, and it was wild because there was just so many photographers there because there was literally nothing else going on. And like the way that with the stage of life that I was in, I'm like, I'm just gonna literally put myself out, and if someone says no, then cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I will never forget, he like came down off stage, Drama. It's like 30 photographers around. Everyone's quiet and they're just like just watching him. And I'm like, I just call him out. I'm like, yo, Drum. And he was like, hey, what's up? And I'm like, can I like send you these pictures anywhere? And he's like, yeah, you want my number or my email? So like, I'm like, what? And then everyone else like looks at me like, dude, what? And then like we just connected and like me and Drama ended up doing some work like for his most recent project he put out. I'm really like that, super fire. So I did some of the merch for him.
Gotta shoot your shot. That's a lesson right there that
100%,
many can
dude.
learn from.
Yeah, and so like you just never know like where it's gonna take you. You know, it will always like truly like people say it all the time, but like truly the worst thing that can happen is it's just like a no, and then you just all right, let me pivot and try a different angle. You know. So yeah, shout out all the Generation Now guys. Shout out Drum. Shout out all them. Like that was an incredible time. And then yeah, like 2021 is when things started to really open back up. So go ahead.
Not to cut the story, but I'm curious when you're doing these things, is it paid per event, or is it like people pay for the specific photos that they like of your like catalog from the event?
It is very situational. I will say like a majority of everything I was doing very early on was completely unpaid. Like, pretty much all of the shows that I did up until I want to say probably 2022 is when I started to see like some money start to come in, you know? So it was really just like for the love of it at the time, you know, I'm just doing this because I want to see how far I can take it sort of thing. And like, I know I'm not getting paid, but like, screw it, we're going to try it anyway sort of thing. But yeah, at that time, like for those first couple of years, for sure, nothing was really like coming back from those. Here and there, I'd have like a couple one-off things, but it like I said, it's situational. Like for like a festival, for example, they could bring you onto an internal team and pay you your day rate for like 2-3 days, however long the festival is, or you could get brought in like with a DJ or with an artist to just cover their specific set and get paid your day rate just for that specific set, and then do the same thing the next day with with a different artist and like maybe one other one. And so it's very much random, and you could also get in through like a publication or like anything of that sort. So, and like that could be or couldn't be paid as well. So it's very much just kind of like there's a lot of different angles and ways that you can get into things, and like a lot of different angles and ways that you can or can't get paid, for sure.
I love the part of your story where you mentioned how that like just one small thing can change the entire trajectory of your life.
Yes.
Like I wasn't I was making music. Like I wasn't trying to make a podcast, and I was in a group chat at Ohio State of hip hop fans, where I would write to the void. Like no one would answer my music takes, and this kid who ended up being my good friend Sam, reached out to me. He's like, I really like your takes. Like, do you want to start a podcast? And I was like, what? Like, I don't even know what I would talk about. And it's
Yeah.
funny to look back now, now 99 episodes in, I'm like, damn, like,
Damn, this is
my whole-
99. This
This
is
is 99.
No, we were off by one. Nah, you gotta drop.
Off
You
by
gotta
one,
drop
my
one
bad.
more before me. Oh man, that's wild. You gotta do something special for 100 though.
I know, I had to figure it out. Yeah, I gotta do something special. Shit, we'll figure that out. But it's like
Wow.
crazy to look
Yeah,
back
of
at it because like
course.
it's like now it's like my identity partly.
Yeah,
Like I look at
but-
myself like this, and people see that, and it's like at a time I'm like I never thought I would be interviewing people or having conversations like.
100%. Yeah,
So
it
it's
is just
sick
like
how life changes.
it's so important, bro. Like to just really put yourself out there. Like I definitely still struggle with it. Like today, just like the thought of oh well, what if this doesn't work or da da da. But like you can't pay attention to it. Like you really have to ignore it. Like you can't be afraid of failure. You can't be afraid to, if something falls through. Like you will always be able to have the option to get up and try again.
Yeah.
Unless you do some crazy shit like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
really screws you, but like obviously we're not gonna be doing that. So
Yeah.
if
we're
anything
chilling, we're
happens,
chilling.
bro, like you will always have another opportunity to try again and try again. It is just truly based on like how persistent you want to be at it.
Yeah.
So
And I've seen like Vince Staples has posted your work and Schoolboy Q. Are artists normally like receptive to it? Like are they reaching out to you like, bro, you fucking killed this? Or is there any
Some
like
of them-
communication with that?
some people will reach out. I mean, most artists are kind of just like mysterious is the wrong word, but like they just don't answer.
their own world.
And like
Yeah.
of course. And I never expect people to answer it. Like if they
Yeah.
do, awesome. Like if Vince reposts my shit, awesome. Like I don't know how that even happened, but incredible. I'm super happy
Yeah.
that happened. But like for the majority of the time, like it's just simply like me tagging them, and like if they see it, they see it. But if not, cool, we keep it moving.
Yeah. And then what was that transition from being someone who's shooting a shot, going to these things for free, kind of grinding it out, to someone that like is becoming a career and we're getting paid now and we're getting flown places and going?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like 2021 was a really pivotal year for me, and 22 I would say too. So I finished up my last 2 years of school. I got a degree in graphic design, and I finished up my last 2 years. I transferred out of a 4-year university here to go to Grand Canyon out in Phoenix, and prior to leaving in 2021, I had connected with a writer from Lyrical, and then had just very last second seen that they were shooting like at a place that I knew, like 10, 15 minutes away in Plano. They were doing a video for Glaive. And I went there. I'm like, I know where this is. I'm just going to pull up. Like, we'll see what happens. And so I pulled up, and the writer that I was connected with was there. And I'm like, yo, you're this person. And he was like, yeah, you're Pleckham. I'm like, yeah, dude, like, it's great to meet you. Whatever. We chopped it up. And I'm like, hey, like, if you need a guy for Summer Smash this year, like, let me know. I'll do whatever.
Yeah.
And they were gonna bring me in as a DIT that year. So what that is basically was just like I was gonna be just organizing photos, not even shooting, just like in the trailer the whole time, just like doing whatever, just making sure files were straight. And I was like, I don't know, but like I'm gonna do it. Like the amount of people that will be there shooting, I'll be able to connect with them, and like maybe it'll go somewhere.
It's all networking.
And it's all network. So again, putting myself out on this limb, they're like, we have this position. It's not what you want, but like it is a step to hopefully get somewhere. I'm like, all right, you know what? You're right. I'm gonna do it. So I go to the walkthrough day, which I was like, this is weird. They're having me come on a walkthrough day. I'm just organizing files. And I pulled up, and the guy who was running the media team at the time, shout out Cones, absolute legend. He was like, yeah, like, bring your camera. We have you on sponsorships, like, as long as, like, you get what you need for the sponsorships, you can go shoot the first 3 of every set. I'm like, dude, no way. So I'm like,
Crazy.
dude, okay, first festival, we're doing it. So that was the first time I had ever shot with a festival. An incredible like experience for sure. And I then moved away, which was like, I was like, man, like all this was just working, and I just left. And now I gotta almost restart because I don't know anybody really out in Phoenix other than a couple friends that were there. And so it was just like trying to maintain that consistency while I was completely away. And I did think that living closer to LA would have helped in being in Phoenix, but like it's Phoenix is not close enough to LA
it's not
to
an
like
hour
have
drive.
any kind of no, it's like a 4 or 5 hour drive to LA. So it was definitely a big culture shock and big change for me. But I think that built up a lot of character for me to like really start to take this very seriously. And I just started to move different. I just started to like really recognize the work that I had already done. Excuse me. And started to leverage it and started meeting a lot of people in LA, started meeting a lot of people around Phoenix. And then anytime I was home, like, what shows are in town? What shows can I hit while I'm here for like a week or 2 or for 3 weeks? Like in the summer, like I know when Summer Smash is, maybe I'll come home for a month and then like hit other shows as well. Like it really was just like, I'm going to commit to this and make it happen. And like, we're really going to take it to that next level. So 22, was my second Summer Smash. And like, I did that. And that was the first year I also did Lollapalooza. And because that was one, like, as someone from suburbs of Chicago, like, I just love that festival. So, like, to be able to have had that opportunity, like, was wild. And, I just was very committed to, like, getting in, found a way in, and, like, I met some publication people there. That was how I've been getting in since, was through them now. So, like, if I hadn't even gotten in, I would never be able to go today or, like, this year or last year or whatever. But yeah, like that transition, I would say, from starting out to like really transitioning to where I'm at now, definitely started in 21 and 22 for me, because it was like, all right, if you don't treat this super serious and don't really like stay consistent, you moved 1,500 miles away and anyone can forget about you and like, you know what I mean? Like it can just fall and like you lose that momentum. So for me, that was where I started to really take it serious. And then 2023, I moved back home, and that was an incredible year. And I like ended last year, like thinking like there's no way that I'm gonna have a crazier year, and like this year has just blown it out of the water, and it's been ridiculous. So it's just very, very cool to see just how far this camera stuff has taken me. But
I told you this. I told you this on.
Go ahead.
I don't know, say your moral of the story.
I was just gonna say, like, moral of the story is like you gotta be committed, bro. Like you have to like be willing to put yourself out there, not be afraid to fail ever, and just like do it because it's what you love,
I told you this on Twitter, but your Kendrick thing's really like a Hall of Fame picture. It's the craziest shit ever. And you have a crazy Tizo one with the flower microphone. They literally look like you like. It looks like you planned it. Like it's the craziest shit. And so you probably have the craziest list of people you've seen perform live out of like anyone ever. So this is probably a hard question, but like who's on the Mount Rushmore of performers?
Like I said earlier, Juice is absolutely up there. I don't know if you're wanting me to rank them in order, but
hey, it's a Mount Rushmore. I just need four faces. We don't need an order.
Cool. I think Juice is up there. I think Uzi's up there for sure in terms of like energy and like all of that. He's a great person to watch perform and really photogenic as well. Kendrick as well, just the elaborateness of his performances, and obviously the music itself elevates it even more. But yeah, Kendrick's up there as well, and I think Tyler for sure has to be up there as well. You can't like not mention Tyler in performances. So I've yet to really shoot for him, but like seeing him out at Flognog a couple weeks ago was just crazy, just to really witness live. That was the second time I've seen him perform.
If you were at Call Me If You Get Lost, I can imagine you taking a crazy picture of him on
Oh,
the boat when he was going through the
yes.
crowd.
Dude, he's always got an incredible setup. Like, it's really cool to witness. I went to Lala as a fan the year that he dropped Call Me If You Get Lost. And, like, just seeing that whole stage setup with the boat and just, like, all these trees and lights and colors. And it's all coordinated. And it's incredible just to
Yeah.
see live. Like, he truly has, like, a 1 hour, like, theater spectacle, I guess is the way to put it. Like, it's fully
Yeah.
planned the entire time. So it is really incredible to witness him perform for sure. But I would say those are my top 4.
For me, I think Anderson .Paak is my GOAT performer I've seen. I saw him do Malibu front to back a few months ago, and that's
Yeah.
like one of my favorite albums ever. And he's just he's insane.
Yeah.
Tyler would be there. Kendrick was the first person because I saw him on the Mr. Morale tour. I had the poster right there.
Yeah.
He's the first rapper I saw actually have like so choreographed down to this step where I remember like him and Baby Keem like walk by each other and they didn't even like acknowledge each other. Like it was pure like Broadway, like walk right by him. So I thought that was cool because most rappers are just like standing on stage.
Yeah.
So those 3, and I thought Amine. I really enjoyed the 2 Amine shows I've been
Bro.
to. He's crazy.
Amine is awesome. I had a show that I did for him in Phoenix for his tour. Man, I'm forgetting what tour it was, but
Best tour ever was.
it might have been
that's
that
the
one.
I
Yeah,
saw.
he had like the whole setup of like his hometown behind him, and I thought that was so cool. The stage design, just having his own like hometown corner store up there, and like a number of other
Yeah.
things. Like that is awesome. Like when artists are able to take it to such a different level like that, it just adds so much to it. And like I really respect the people that do that, even if it's
Yeah.
even if it's low budget. You at least tried. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that just in itself like means a lot more to fans and like people who really like are passionate about this stuff than anything else.
There's such small things that artists can add that just show you care a little bit, even if it's like a little set thing between you and your DJ. When you do like this, like he makes a noise, and the audience is like, "Whoa!" Like it feels like you're at something
Yeah.
versus just like playing an instrumental and rapping over it. So like, I know Smino
Yeah.
did that, like does that with his drummer. When I saw Jordan Ward open for JID and Smino, that was like the best opener I've ever seen because that guy's like screaming like a wrestler, dancing
Yeah.
like he's Tiana Taylor, singing like he's insane.
Yeah, Jordan's a great performer too. I saw him at Flognar as well, and that set was awesome because he had a little bit of everything. He had the stage design. He had choreographed like dancers up there. He had his own live
Yeah.
band. And, like, yeah, he's got some incredible music, and then the performance itself was just amazing. So
And Kendrick Lamar, the GOAT, just dropped a new album, and I'm guessing you immediately were like, I gotta get to work because you posted
Oh, yeah.
some crazy ass visuals. My guy getting 725,000 views on it. Ooh! But when you hear that and you see that someone said let's have a little something. So when that album drops, and are you just like immediately inspired? You're like, let's cook.
yeah, absolutely. I like obviously it was a surprise, and I had randomly been on Twitter and just seen like the trailer, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. Like he's probably gonna drop something. Did I think it was gonna be like 30 minutes from then? No, but I'm like, oh my god, he's gonna drop something, and it just randomly comes out, and I literally just sat here in my room and I just listened to the whole thing front to back before I did anything else, and I was like, yeah, this would be cool. Like I want to make something. Like I just have to. I want to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got to work on it, made something in like a couple hours and put it out, and it did pretty well. And then like the Squabble Up thing came out, which was dope. And then at that point I'm like, all right, well the first one did well, so I want to do something else for this because I feel like there was so much happening in that video where like there was so much visually I could use. And I was like, yeah, I want to make something that kind of encapsulates this whole video. So that was how that one came to be as well.
This is a really niche comparison, so you might not even get it. Have you ever seen the movie Dinner for Schmucks?
No, I haven't.
Okay, not even worth making the comparison then. The picture
I haven't. I'm sorry.
There was a small chance. The picture reminded me of something from that. And obviously, you started working on album covers. You did KO. Shout out to my guy KO. That it's crazy.
Absolutely.
You did Z Money. You helped with D2X in the photo shoot. This might be another hard question, but we'll do another Mount Rushmore because I'm a big Mount Rushmore guy. Mount Rushmore
Okay.
of album covers.
Of album covers in general or album covers that
In
I've done?
general.
Okay.
In
Okay.
general.
I personally think Faces is up there
Sick
100%.
one.
I feel like as simple as it is, it's hard not to mention 2014 Forest Hills. Like
Yeah, I got right there.
that's
Isn't
a
it
classic.
isn't it
like,
crazy that did you see that tweet that Cole didn't want to use that photo at first and he wanted to
Yeah.
use some whatever the alternate cover was, which is not cool,
Yeah.
respectfully.
Yeah, I think that is absolutely up there though, and I would say Under Pressure by Logic is also a great cover.
Fire one with the graffiti.
I think that's incredible, especially for the time that it came out. And
Ooh,
man,
which
what is
one? The one with his face on the wall or the one in the basement?
the one with his face on the wall?
Okay, yeah.
I think either is great, but I think the one with his face on the wall is just
Yeah,
crazy.
it's sick.
Man, I need one more. This is tough. I mean, I'm like trying to scroll through some of my albums that I have here. Final one. I'm gonna say, do I want to say that? I'm gonna say. Let's Start Here is fire. I think that was one of the first covers that like really used like AI and stuff like that, and that like really caught people off guard. So I think Let's Start Here is also another very fire cover. I think some people are mixed about it. I know some people don't like it, and some people do, but I think it's super fire.
Trying to think, you gave me enough time to kind of think of mine. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
Malibu by Anderson .Paak. I like the randomness of that one. I got to my right of me. I got Flower Boy. I love the colors of Flower Boy because I think it
I
sounds
almost
like
said
the
that
album.
was what I was torn on. It was Flower Boy.
Yeah. I think it is. I love when an album cover sounds like the music, and I don't know what the disease Pharrell has, where like you can hear colors.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm talking about, but like it's the album sounds orange.
Yeah.
So I think Late Registration. I love that one.
Classic.
And let me think. I might go 2014. It's just legendary. Whenever a rapper's like sitting on something, like Drake's Views, sitting on the edge, like
Classic.
it's always just a cool vibe to that.
I think
And I'm sure you're inspired by this.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure you're inspired by this, but I also think Mac Miller has the best merch.
Yes. Yes, he does. 100%. Yeah, I mean, I don't always see what artists have merch out and like what it always looks like, but like from what I've always seen from Mac, it's always so clean, very well put together.
I have a hot take for you because you are a manager, and this is a take I have about artist merchandise. I don't love when an artist's merch is so like their name written all over it because it's not always like cool. Like I'm not sure if I want to wear a shirt that has like an artist name ginormous. I love merch. I think the goal of merch should be to get money in the artist's pocket, and realistically, no one's be like, wait, is that an artist? Let me go look up Apple Music. It's just about getting some bread for the artist. So I'll be at a concert and I'm like, who's gonna wear this? It's like a Pusha T show, and the shirt was like a giant picture of his face. And I'm like, respect. I love Push. This shirt's ugly.
Yeah. I always try and move away from that sort of direction of like, you need to have the name or you need to have the title or whatever. Like, for me at least, I think it's cool to like if you can make someone think about it and be like, what is this? You've got it. Like you've got their attention. You know what I mean? So even if they have the half a second where they're thinking about it, it's like, all right, well that's enough to at least like catch their attention. So if they see it somewhere else down the line, they're like, oh, that's that shirt, or oh, that's this and it was attached to this. Ah, okay, like they get it then later on. So it definitely is situational, I think, depending on like what the vibe is. But I always try and at least like think of a way that I can like take an element of like this cover or this song and like come up with something that is gonna get you there, but like not directly be like this title, this artist. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and not every artist has to be like Tyler Creator, where they have like a separate fashion brand for their things, which it is awesome he does that. But even like the Mac Miller family, they took like that little guy from the swimming logo and like that's on stuff, and you can just wear that and people won't be like, that's Mac Miller merch. It's just a cool shirt.
Right.
And I think that should be like the goal.
It's more of like a if you know you know kind of thing, and I think that's so cool to like have that, especially if it really starts to work. Like for the Mac thing, like you said, like if you understand where that came from, then you know that's Mac Miller merch. But if you don't, you're like, oh, like all right, just a dude like, you know, floating around. But they won't get it. But the repetition is still there, in which like people that don't understand maybe will see it later on and be like, oh, this was from that Mac out. Like those are the best kind of like designs, is when you can achieve that.
So I have some merch from when I was like growing up, because I'd always be like a stan and have to buy it. I'm like, these shirts are not cool. Like, I can't rock this.
Yeah.
But Danny, my guy, thank you so much for coming on. This was such a fun conversation. You truly are the GOAT of this photography game. I'm very impressed and inspired when I see you creating. I want to give you a place to shout out where people can find you. If you got anything cool coming that you want to highlight, that floor is yours.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, thank you for having me on. This is my first interview, so let's clap it up for that. Come on.
Let's go, baby.
Super fire. Honored to be here. Thank you again for the love and the support. You can find me anywhere on any socials at Pleckham. That's Plekham. I also run my own brand, Concrete. You can find it anywhere on socials at Concrete Status, CNCRTSTATUS. And man, we're just always moving. We're always doing some amazing stuff. You know, shout out to all my friends. Shout out to Treehouse. Shout out to everybody. You know, we got some cool stuff coming up. We're about to announce a show, probably by the time this video comes out. It'll be happening, so that'll be cool. And then we got another show that'll be at the end of March, so stay tuned for that. That's all I will say about that.
Let's go. Shout out Chicago.
Yes,
you guys are killing it out there. If you made it to the end of the podcast, God bless. Thank you so much. It means the world. You can find me on social media at Adam-DASH_. And you can find Soundcentric Music on Twitter, Soundcentric Muse, because music was taken, on Instagram and TikTok. And we shall see you next time. Peace.